In my last vlog about moving with Charlie, I mentioned how me and Charlie have a pretty good leaving ritual. I actually think I've mentioned it a couple of times. But me doing certain things basically just lets Charlie know that I'm leaving for a longer period of time. And it just sets us up for success when it comes to having an everyday life where I leave for work or I leave for university while Charlie's at home alone. No problem, no stressing, and no screaming, as far as I am aware. At least I've asked all the neighbors that I've had for the last couple of years, and they all gave the same answer. Is there a parrot next door? So I'd say that that's a pretty good indicator that Charlie doesn't make noise whenever I'm not home. So I promised to walk you through what me and Charlie's routine looked like. But remember, this routine just works for me and Charlie. It works for us. And, you know, birds are very different when it comes to behaviors and how they react to being left alone and being alone and all of this. However, I did promise to share how I would implement this routine if, you know, I started over with a new bird, so that you can try it out, see if it works for you, or maybe you just already have a routine and is curious to see what ours look like. So it's sound and it's also very simple what we do. But basically, I start out, of course, by taking on my shoes and jacket and whatnot. And this indicates to Charlie that I'm leaving, which makes her sometimes go to her cage automatically. And then I can either do one of three things. I can take out her backpack, indicating to her that she's coming with me. Charlie gets excited and I drop a treat in the backpack. She goes in there. I can also take out her harness, indicating to her that again that she's coming with me. But Charlie basically now goes into training mood, or a state where she's very heightened and excited about coming with me in the harness. And the third option, if Charlie has to be home alone, I say that I'm leaving in Danish. This makes Charlie actually go to her food bowl, because then she knows she'll get a bigger treat. And what I mean by bigger treat is just a half an almond or half a walnut, basically something that she can munch on for a little while. But I say that she goes to her bowl, I close off the cage, make sure I have all my things ready, because this is the last thing I do before I leave. I drop the treat in her bowl, and then I say goodbye, and I go outside the door, basically while Charlie is eating. Now, why do I think a routine like this can be beneficial, you might ask? I have never noticed signs of stress, plucking, and you heard before with the noise, whenever I do this routine with Charlie. And so my understanding of it is that it works really well. And I just think it's because it's a good way for me to communicate to Charlie what is about to happen. That, you know, I'm leaving for potentially a lot of hours, and so calling for me won't help, so to say. It sounds a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. It sets expectations for her, which I just think lowers the stress of me not being there. To maybe say it in another way, whenever I'm in the apartment and maybe go into another room, Charlie sometimes screams for me. And that's because she knows I'm still in the apartment, and thereby screaming for me maybe makes me come, or she wants to come with me, so therefore she screams for me. But when I do this routine, Charlie never screams for me, because I communicate to her that I'm leaving. I'm not going into another room. That door there doesn't lead to another room. It leads to me going somewhere for a long time. Now, if you want to go out and do this routine, then do this routine. In all seriousness though, I think this routine is very effective, especially because the bird is distracted while you're leaving, so they don't have time to react negatively to the process of you opening the door and leaving, and notice that you're actually going. And furthermore, you're also rewarding them, so to say, a huge treat, which they can look forward to. So whenever you put on your shoes and jacket, then the bird knows that, oh my God, I'm getting this huge treat soon. And then the process of you leaving can become a more positive experience for the bird. Now, of course, implementing a leaving ritual or routine doesn't mean that you can just leave your bird home alone for 8 hours because they got a huge treat 8 hours ago, and so that has prepared them for it. That's not how it works. If your bird can't be left for long and you're just starting out with home alone training, this is actually also how I would start training that. Because as I mentioned, they're distracted while you're doing the thing that they don't think is so nice. You know, you leaving. It's not so pleasant for them. But by distracting them with a treat and then leaving for maybe 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and then walk back in, the bird might not even have finished the treat, and so they haven't had a chance to actually react to being alone or you being gone. So it's a super good method to start training that. And you know, whenever you do that, you can extend on it, so leave for longer and longer and longer. And if you need your bird to be distracted for longer, you can maybe take out a foraging toy instead of just a treat, and then have your bird start foraging for treats or foraging for food, because this will also exercise their mind, keeping them busy and make them more tired and more likely to chill when you are gone for, you know, many hours on a work day maybe. This can actually lead to the next question or topic, because how long is it responsible to leave the bird for then? Now, in my opinion, it very much depends on what is the bird used to and what is the bird's individual limit to when it begins to feel stressed or alone whenever you leave them. Also remember that birds are very social. So for example, Charlie being a only bird, I am her basically only source of social interaction. And so me leaving for a whole day would not be super responsible, because then Charlie is basically left with no social interaction with anyone for a whole day. I would, by the way, love to give Charlie a companion. The unfortunate thing is that I live in a small apartment with my boyfriend. I don't have space for 2 cages. I don't have anything that could be a quarantine room, so it's just not possible for me. And thankfully, Charlie thrives, as far as I know, Charlie thrives being an only bird, and it's fine for her. But if you have the option, I would really recommend, or at least that you consider getting another bird, because they really just do get a social interaction with each other that we could never be able to give them. We are humans, they're birds. So if you can, it would really benefit the bird that you already have, and of course also the one you're getting. So think about it when you buy a bird, that they are social, and maybe having another could be beneficial. Now, the maximum amount of time that I leave Charlie is probably around 9 to 10 hours, so what you would call a work day. And I personally wouldn't leave for longer than that, again, because especially Charlie needs my social interaction, but of course, if you have multiple birds, they will still need for you to come home and feed them and clean for them and whatnot. A good rule of thumb, if you are new to birds, is to treat being home alone a bit like a dog. So you wouldn't leave for more than a work day with your dog. You would think about getting home to them so that you could walk them, or in this case, maybe entertain them and be social with them. Because also, like dogs, it's different from bird to bird how many hours are too many. And that's for you to figure out and train accordingly. I can't tell you that. A comment I promised to include in the video was about working different hours or having a changing working schedule. So one day you might work from noon till evening, and some days you might have a night shift. What then? My personal experience tells me that birds are pretty adaptable to this, but it again comes down to what is the bird used to. Because if the bird has been used to you coming home at a certain point for the past 10 years, then yes, changing things up might make the bird react differently, or the bird will have to adapt to that because they're not used to it. If you, like me on the other hand, went from a full-time job to studying on a changing schedule each week, to doing absolutely nothing, to then having a full-time job again, then yes, the bird is more likely to get used to things changing regarding a schedule. I have mentioned this in another video, but my best advice regarding teaching a bird to be home alone and conditioning them to a changing schedule is just leave when you have to, especially with baby birds. Baby birds are so cuddly and cute, which makes us more protective over them and wanting to be over them 24/7. But this is also the state where they are receptive to any routine that you have or give them, or whatever you throw in their face, because they're still in what I like to call the elevator music state. They don't know what's going on, they don't know who you are, they don't know what screaming is yet. So please take advantage of that and give them whatever routine you would like them to be on. And if it's a changing one, then yes, they will probably be more adaptable to you coming and leaving at any time. And that's also why I think it's important to leave when you have to. And then you will also get this more independent trait that I like to yap about and love about Charlie. If you then down the line notice that your bird is more stressed or that they are changing behavior in a negative way, then maybe think about if you're leaving for too many hours and if that could be the reason why. Also, making sure that your bird has something to do while you're gone is of course also extremely important, because if not, the bird will find other ways to entertain itself. It could be screaming for you to come back, or it could be, worst case, plucking itself because it doesn't know what else to do and is just stressed about being alone in an empty cage. So this is a reminder that if you have had these same toys in your bird's cage forever and they haven't touched it, to maybe switch things up a bit or find new textures for your bird to try, put things in a different way or anything like that, so that your bird at least has the option to play with toys when you're not home. All right, let's get my beloved sum chart and sum up what this routine is really about. So what you want to do is distract your bird while you go out, and then making sure the bird stays distracted under the training, or at least has the option to when they are alone for longer hours. Now, the amount of hours you can leave for depends on what the bird is used to and how they react to being by themselves, and that's for you to find out. Or if you have a baby bird, you are blessed with the opportunity to make it receptive to change and being by itself. So my advice is leave when you have to prepare them for when you are going to leave for work. What hopefully eventually will happen, and has happened with Charlie of course, is that this routine just is a way for me to communicate to her that I'm going out for a certain amount of time and screaming won't help. And on top of that, the benefit of combining this with just leaving when you have to makes it so that I don't have Charlie on a certain schedule regarding when I leave, if that makes sense. So Charlie doesn't know if I'm gone for 2 hours or if I'm gone for a whole work day of 9 hours. And it just makes our everyday life easier, because Charlie doesn't anticipate me to be home at a certain time and then gets stressed if I'm not there at that time of day. So I know that Charlie is home stress-free, despite me being maybe just down for groceries, or if I'm at a work day for 9 to 10 hours. I know that Charlie is absolutely fine. I hope this gave some insight in what me and Charlie's routine looked like. Remember, it works for us, and in the end, the only ones that know what works best for you and your bird is you and your bird. So if you try out this and your bird is just more stressed than ever, then maybe this is not the method for you. On the other hand, if you try out some of the elements and notice that suddenly your bird plays whenever you're not home, or suddenly you don't get noise complaints, well then maybe it's something for you to try out. Charlie, you haven't been in the video at all. No. You can come with me on the outro. That's all for us. Bye.